Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about how to attract more of the right types of people to your med spa or to your aesthetic business. And so whether you run Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads, whether you get clients through Groupon or partnerships, how can you attract more of the right types of people? Those being individuals who can afford your services and have a painful problem that you can solve, who are going to come back time and time again and continue to purchase more services for you, or maybe even buy a membership from you. And how can we avoid the individuals who are just going to waste your time, shop around on price, kick tires, and essentially never actually take action and never buy anything that is truly valuable to you as the business owner. This is something that I feel pretty strongly about, so let's just hop right into the video here. So first off, let's define who the right person is, because this is kind of like a broad term, and this probably has different definitions depending on who you ask. But just for the sake of this video, I'm going to define the quote unquote right person being someone who has the problem that you can actually solve, right? So whether it's a skin treatment that you're doing, a body treatment, whatever it might be, they have the problem that you can solve, and it is a painful problem for that person. Someone who has the resources and the willingness to solve that problem. So in other words, they either have the money in their bank account, or they have the ability to get the financing in order to access the funds to buy the treatment. And they also have the willingness to solve it. So just because someone has the money in their bank account doesn't necessarily mean that they are willing to allocate their funds towards your treatments. And so we need people that not only have the resources, but are also willing to do it. And then someone who believes that you and your method are the best way to solve their problem. So, right, they believe in you, they trust you as the business owner or as the business in general, right? They trust your providers or your team, and they also trust that your method of solving that problem is the correct method for them. If we take something like weight loss, there are 100,000 different ways that you can lose weight, right? There's so many different products and services and advice that's given out there, and so we need to make sure that people genuinely believe that the service that you are providing is the best method for them to solve their problem, whether it's a facial treatment, a body treatment, it doesn't matter, right? So why do you attract the wrong people in the first place? And let me move myself out of the way. Well, something that I hear time and time again is, oh, ads didn't work for us, right? All the leads were broke. They couldn't afford it. And it is entirely possible that some of your leads had absolutely no money and they couldn't get access to financing. That is 100% a truthful thing that can actually happen. But it's crucial to keep in mind that what people say to you, right? So what your leads or your prospects say to you in person and what is actually true in reality isn't always aligned. And so let me just kind of explain what I mean there. If everyone that comes in for an appointment says that, oh, this is way too expensive, it is much more likely that there is an underlying sales problem or a sales issue that needs to be fixed, right? If you're booking a ton of appointments, let's say you're running Facebook ads or you're doing Groupon and you're getting a ton of people in the door, but you're finding that like every single person that comes through is like, as soon as you present the price of your treatment plan or your package, people are like, oh, that's a lot of money. Like I'm going to need to save up, or let me think about it, or they give you some kind of objection, then it is likely that there is some other sales problem that needs to be fixed before they even get to that point where you present the price. And so the sales problem here, I understand the frustration of investing into ads or doing any kind of marketing that costs money as a business owner, only to hear your leads tell you, oh, this is way too expensive, or I'll think about it, or I need to talk to my spouse, or whatever they say, right? I had a client who faced a very similar issue, who was pouring, tons of money into ads just to get leads who were unwilling to spend anything on on treatments, right? She tried changing the locations that she was targeting in her ads. So like, for example, if you target more like wealthy neighborhoods, the idea is that, oh, we'll get better quality leads, but that it didn't do anything, right? It continued to attract people who would come in and say, oh, that's really expensive. And what I ended up doing was I asked this client of mine a whole bunch of questions to learn more about her sales process, right? So what does the first visit look like? What does the consultation look like? What kinds of questions do you ask during the consultation? How do you create and present your treatment plans, and all sorts of different things as part of her sales process? And we found that her sales process was completely broken, and she had no idea that it was even broken, right? And it's not your fault, right? As a med spa owner, or as an aesthetic business, if you're, especially if you're just getting started with like cold traffic, so running ads or doing Groupon, it's not your fault that your sales process is broken, because you likely don't have this big fancy sales process already built out. And so, for example, she wasn't giving a wow experience when people came in the door. She was definitely doing what she was promising in the ad, but she wasn't giving people an experience that made them go, oh my gosh, I need to come back to this place again, right? She wasn't asking any of the right questions during the consultation process. She was basically just jumping straight into, hey, why did you come in today? And then immediately just prescribing a treatment plan, not presenting price in the right way. So there is a specific way that you should be presenting your price in order to get people excited about, spending the money that's required. She wasn't presenting the value in the right way. And then she was also taking every single objection at face value, right? So if somebody came in and they were like, oh, that's a little bit out of my budget, or, oh, that's pretty expensive, then she just said, oh, okay, no worries. Call us back if things change. And then that was the end of the relationship, the end of the discussion, right? And these are, just a handful of random flaws that this particular client that I'm referencing had in particular. But it's really important to understand that your sales process is this multifaceted thing. To me, a sales process is anything that happens after you generate a lead. How do you handle that lead, all the way from them coming into for an appointment, and all the way into getting them to come in multiple times after that. It's important to really take a look at it and make sure that your sales process isn't broken first. Before we get into some of the more tactical stuff that I'll talk about later in this video on how to attract higher quality leads, or how to get more of the right people to your med spa, it's really important to make sure that you don't have a sales problem first, okay? Instead of jumping straight to the conclusion that, oh, ads don't work for my business, ads attract the wrong people, there's just a whole bunch of Groupon buyers, it's important to make sure that you don't have a sales problem, right? If I can come in and look at your business and say, okay, your sales process is solid, like you're doing everything perfect, like you're calling leads within the first 5 minutes, your first experience seems like it really gives people like that wow factor, and I can't find a single problem, then you're allowed to complain about the leads being bad, right? But you need to remind yourself that ads absolutely do work for other med spas in industries and markets all across the US, right? There are med spas who are turning $97 introductory treatments into $3,000 treatment plans. That is that's a thing that's happening in the world right now. And so if somebody else can do it, it's an important reminder. It's important to remind yourself that you can do that too. It's just likely that they are doing something different than what you're doing right now in order to get those types of results. And so let's talk about what people say versus what the truth is. So someone coming in and getting that introductory first treatment, and then when you present the treatment plan, someone who says, oh, that's really expensive, or I need to save up, or I can't afford it, it doesn't always mean that they literally cannot pay for it. A lot of the time, it means that there's something else that that went wrong during the sale or during the consultation. And a lot of the times, it's not that they don't have the funds or the resources to pay for your treatment. It's just that they're not willing to, right? You didn't provide or you didn't build up the value enough that they're going to decide, okay, the money that I would spend on this treatment is actually worth it, right? And so in other words, like I just said, they have the resources, but they're unwilling to pay for it, right? That's two completely different things, having the resources to pay and being willing to pay. But the question here is, why are they unwilling, right? Why does that even happen in the first place? Well, there are 7 beliefs that stop someone from buying anything, right? Anything in the world in general, right? And those 7 beliefs are: if they don't trust you, they're never going to buy. If they don't believe that the problem is that serious, or they don't take the problem seriously, like if I just have like, a little bit of nagging knee pain, but it's not stopping me from doing anything in my life, I'm probably not going to spend several $1,000s to fix my tiny little nagging knee pain, right? So if they don't think the problem is that serious, they're not going to buy. If they don't believe that your method will work for them, so the specific way that you help solve that problem, then they're not going to buy. If they don't feel urgency to act now, then they won't buy. If they don't think that solving the problem will yield a greater future, so whatever they're going to get after solving this problem, if it's not exciting enough, then they probably won't purchase. They literally do not have the resources to pay. So if someone actually doesn't have the money in their account and their credit score is terrible, so they can't get access to financing, then of course, that sale will never happen. And then they don't think that the people around them will support their decision. And this is another really important one. But if they have a spouse or friends or family who they believe are going to judge them for getting this treatment or doing whatever, then they're not going to purchase. And so each one of these 7 beliefs must be addressed thoroughly in your consultation process and in your entire sales process in general. And if they aren't, it's going to be very difficult to sell anyone anything, right? Even those who have lots of disposable income. Think about it. I could have, $100 million in the bank. And if I don't trust you, and I don't trust that your business is the business for me that's going to actually solve my problem, then you could charge $50 for something, and I'm not going to pay, right? It's the same thing as if I had a ton of money and I didn't think that the problem was that serious. Why would I throw money away, right? Like, even individuals who have lots of disposable income are not just going to throw it around willy-nilly. And so it's important to remember that even those with lots of disposable income, they need to have each one of these 7 beliefs broken, or they need to trust you, believe that the problem is serious, and have all of the reverse of every single one of these 7, regardless of their financial situation. And so the next piece here is that you must be able to overcome objections. And this is a huge one, and one of those things that a lot of people feel somewhat uncomfortable about, but it's just the reality of being a business owner, especially when you're trying to sell things that are higher tickets, such as treatment plans and packages. The 3 types of objections that you're typically going to come across after you present your price is price objections, right? So the value wasn't, that just means that the value probably wasn't articulated very well. But if someone says, oh, this is expensive, this is a little bit out of my budget, that would be a price objection, right? If someone says, oh, I need to talk about it with my wife or my husband or my friends or my goldfish or whatever, that is another type of objection. That's the spouse objection. And then the third one here, the most common one, is I need to think about it. So most people are going to be like, that's basically them saying, I don't want to make a decision right now, but I'm not going to tell you that. And so someone will say, thank you so much for the info. Like, this package seems really great. I'm going to think about this and I'll get back to you guys. And then of course they're never going to get back to you, right? And so the question here is, what do you say when someone objects to you? So when you present your price, do you just say, no worries, get back to us when you can, and then you follow up with them a week from then, and then you're never going to get that sale? Or do you have a specific plan for when someone objects on price? When someone says, oh, this is way too expensive, you know what you're going to say next. Or when someone says, oh, I need to talk about it with somebody, or I just need to think about this, do you know what you are going to say next? Because there are specific ways that you can handle those situations, and they should be practiced, whether you're the person doing the selling or whether your team is doing the selling, so that you can make sure that you are taking advantage of every single opportunity that comes through the door. And so basically, long story short, you cannot complain about lead quality if you don't call your leads within the first 5 minutes of them submitting their form on Facebook or Instagram or Groupon or whatever it is. You don't follow up with your leads diligently. You don't have a mini qualifying call with interested leads. You don't take a card or a credit card or a deposit in order to make sure people show up. You don't send people content and social proof before the appointment. You don't have a proven first visit process that gets people excited and gives them a wow experience. You don't have a proven consultation script. You don't actively train your team on it and also practice at least 1 to 2 hours per week with each team member that is going to be in a selling situation. You sell a one-size-fits-all package to everybody. You don't have lots of ways for people to buy, so you don't have prepaid discounts, financing options. If you pay half now, we'll give you a discount, payment plans, downsells, all sorts of different things. You don't handle objections, right? So if someone objects to your treatment plan or your package of some sort, you just say, okay, no worries. And then if you don't always schedule the next visit, right? So if you even just one of these things, you're like, oh yeah, we don't do a great job with that, then you cannot complain about lead quality, right? I say this all the time, but your sales process is like a car, right? If you take one integral piece out of the car, then the car cannot go, like it will not run, right? Or it won't run correctly, at least. And your sales process is no different. So this is not an all-inclusive list. This is just a handful of things here. But even if just one of those things, you're like, oh yeah, we don't do a great job of that. Like, honestly, our front desk isn't calling leads within the first 5 minutes because they complain about the lead quality, so they're just not doing it. Okay, well then you can't complain about lead quality if you're not calling within the first 5 minutes, right? And so it's important to almost treat this as a checklist. And so just to kind of round this idea out here, I could take 100 people and send them to a med spa with a broken sales process, and they would sell 0 of those 100. And then I could take those same 100 people and send them to a med spa with an optimized sales process and a good sales process when people are actually in the door, and they would sell treatment plans, right? And so if you check all of these boxes, then you can complain about lead quality. So if you're so 100% confident that your sales process is actually good, then you're allowed to complain about lead quality, because there's probably a deeper underlying issue if you already have all these things in place. And so let's talk about the more tactical stuff, how to attract the right people. So if you are confident that you have a good sales process and you have valid reasons to believe that you have a good sales process, then you can focus on the tactical stuff I'll talk about next. And by the way, if you're just like, oh yeah, we have a great sales process, but you don't actually have like a reason to believe that, or you're just saying that because you think it's good, but you have, no idea how your team sells or what they say in the consultation or anything like that, or you don't know if they're following the script very well, then you can't just assume that your sales process is good. And so if you do have a good sales process, though, then we can focus on the more tactical stuff that I'll talk about now. So there's a few low-hanging fruit items for how to attract better people or more of the right people to your med spa. First off, if you are running Facebook ads, one of the things that you that can generate a whole bunch of like lower quality leads is pre-filled lead forms. So basically, a lead form is something that looks like this on Facebook, right? So you see an ad, you click the little button, and then you give people an opportunity to fill out their information. So by default, when someone clicks the Get Quote button or the Learn More button, it automatically fills that person's information out. And a lot of the times what happens is someone has like an old outdated email or an old phone number on their Facebook account, and then you have people that are submitting information with bogus information, right? And so if you have these pre-filled lead forms on Facebook that are just automatically collecting people's information, you will absolutely get more leads that way, right? You will get a higher quantity of leads, but you're also going to get a lot of like garbage and bot leads as well. I think that there are like bot leads where like people will set up these programs to like fill out their information on ads. I'm not really sure why they do it, but that is something that does happen as well. And so the easier it is for people to just like basically hit 1, 2, 3 buttons to submit their information, the more likely it is that you're going to get lower quality leads and people that aren't actually interested in the thing. And so instead of doing that, what you can do is, this is a little bit more technical, but when you're setting up your lead form, you can delete the pre-filled information. So you can delete the full name, email, phone number options, and then just type them in yourself as like custom variables that people have to fill out, right? So instead of saying full name with the pre-filled option, you can just say full name with the option where someone has to type out their full name. And that way you're basically forcing people to submit correct information, because they can't just hit 3 buttons and then be done. They have to actually type something in the form. The second option here is you could just switch directly to a landing page instead of a lead form, right? So this is what a lead form looks like. Instead, you could send people directly to a landing page where they're brought to a page that looks, something like this, and then they submit their information on that page. Again, just bringing people to a separate page, you are less likely to get people that are going to waste your time that way. The third thing here is you could ask qualifying questions in your form. So whether you use a lead form or a landing page, you can ask people questions such as, hey, when's the best time for your appointment? Or what problem areas are you struggling with right now? Just so that you are forcing people to actually think and make sure that they actually genuinely have the problem and are interested for coming in for an appointment. And then also the final thing here is you could change your targeting as well. So in Facebook, you have the option to target certain things like, top 5% of income in their zip code and all sorts of things like that. But my suggestion here would be to be very careful with this, just because the more limits that you put on your targeting, the smaller your pool of people will be. And since you are a local business, you're already limiting yourself to how many people you can show your ad to already. So I would be very careful with changing your targeting and trying to get specific with that. But the TLDR version of this is that you should try to make it harder for someone to become a lead if you are having a lead quality issue or if you are attracting a lot of the wrong people. So the hardest possible version is if you sent people to a landing page with lots of questions that they had to answer before they could submit their information, then you are definitely going to get higher quality leads who are genuinely interested and are more likely to pick up the phone, but they are going to cost way more and you're going to get way less of them. And the question here is, why not start with this, right? Like, why not just go directly to using a landing page where people have to answer lots of questions so that we can get the best possible leads right off the bat? Well, the problem here is that without leads, you have no data. And without data, you cannot make informed decisions about how well your ads are performing in the first place. And so leads help you make decisions about every part of your sales process, whether it's, are people picking up the phone? Are people booking appointments on the phone? All sorts of different things. For example, if people are getting stuck at the call booking, then you probably need to fix your script. Or if people are coming in, but they're not buying something, then you probably need to fix your in-person sales process or your consultation script. And so it is my opinion that it is better to have a low quality lead issue than having a no lead issue, right? So I would rather start very broad and just start getting leads in the door. And even if they're low quality, that will at least give you the data in order to make better decisions about your marketing, rather than having no leads. And so if we start with all of these, guardrails and all of these different objections that stop bad leads from coming in, then it's just going to take a lot longer to gather that data to make better decisions, if that makes sense. So the ultimate strategy to attracting the right people all comes down to your messaging. So if you have an excellent sales process, and if you've already, put in some of these limiters here, the next thing that you should really focus on is your messaging. And so low quality leads usually stem from a lack of understanding of who your target market actually is. And so if we use a very broad example of like who your target market could be, like imagine we ran an ad and we said something like, hey, hey, Philadelphia, want to reduce fat in stubborn areas. This is like the most generic version of an ad you could possibly write, because just about 100% of people in the entire world want to reduce fat in stubborn areas, right? And so a generic ad usually casts a wider net into the ocean and then pulls back anything that it can get, right? You'll still get qualified leads or good quality people in that net. There's just going to be a lot more of the like lower quality price shopper type leads that come back in that as well. But the problem with this is that if you run a broad ad such as like, hey, Philadelphia, want to reduce fat in stubborn areas, there's going to be a lot more sifting that needs to be done. So you're going to get a lot of leads, but it's going to take more sifting to kind of figure out who are the people that are actually serious. But imagine if with our messaging, we got more specific in our ad. So instead of just saying like, hey, want to reduce fat in stubborn areas, what if we said something like, hey, Philadelphia moms struggling with post-pregnancy body changes, right? Or busy ladies of Coral Springs, work schedule making it challenging to find time for regular exercise and dieting. Or, hey, brides, looking to fit perfectly into your dress on your special day without cramming long workouts into your busy schedule. Like, do you see how those three things are so specific, right? So first off, moms, we're targeting individuals that are more likely to have more disposable income. And we're talking about post-pregnancy body changes. That's a very specific problem. Same thing here. So busy ladies of Coral Springs, if your work schedule is making it challenging, right? So we're specifically talking to busy professionals. Usually busy professionals are going to be individuals that have more money. And you can kind of see the common theme here is that we're talking specifically to the type of individual that is more likely to have disposable income. Or brides, right? Usually brides are more likely to have disposable income as compared to like a broke college kid, right? So we're talking specifically about, fitting perfectly into your dress on your special day. That's a very specific problem that only brides have. And so if we ran ads like these, we're much more specific, right? We're laser focused where we're using bait instead of a net. So in this scenario, we're kind of like casting a net as the metaphor would go here. But in this scenario where we're being laser specific, we're using specific bait. So we're really getting like laser focused and dialed in on the exact problem that people solve. And in that way, you can be much more specific on what types of quote unquote fish you pull back when you cast. And so a quick note here to remember is that a generic ad will attract everyone, right? And will probably get you more leads, but at a lower cost. Specific ads like these ones will attract a very specific person, and you will probably get less leads at a higher cost, right? And that's just kind of a trade-off that you have to play around with in your business, right? If you use these broad ads, you're going to get way more leads, way more opportunities, but you're going to have to sift through a lot more individuals that aren't actually serious, right? But if you use a very specific example, you're going to get way less leads and they're going to be much higher cost, but the likelihood that the leads that you do get are going to be much more serious is a lot higher, right? And if you just think about it, like how many brides are in your local area as compared to how many people are in your local area that just want to reduce fat in their stubborn areas, right? There are way more people in this scenario than there are brides that are looking to do a body contouring treatment or something. And so this is just one of those things that you kind of have to balance and test around with. But my recommendation, my opinion for how you should approach this in terms of your messaging is you should start really broad with your messaging and then focus your effort on dialing in your sales process. And then after your sales process is super dialed in for that broad audience, then you can get laser focused if you still can't overcome your lead quality issue. I have found after talking with lots of business owners that 99.99999% of the time, it is an issue with your sales process and it is not an issue with your lead quality. And so start broad, use broad targeting, talk to a very like broad audience, and then just focus on your sales process. Once those your sales process is really dialed in, if you are still having a lead quality issue where you're not attracting enough people who are actually buying treatment plans, then you can start to focus on getting laser focused in your messaging and talking to very specific audiences, such as this example here. So I know this was a longer video. I hope it was helpful. Go ahead and click on the next video on the screen now, and I'll see you in the next one.